Hello, it's Alicia Johnson here. I just want to first say thank you for even thinking of me to do something like this. I'm almost speechless, which for those who know me, know that that's a rarity. So I'm just so excited to be able to, be a part of the Millennial Wives Club in this way. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for even reaching out to me. I'm going to go ahead and dig right into these questions. So, an overview of me in regards to the woman I was to the woman I am. I will definitely say that I have had a lot of growing pains in becoming my current self. Just as a result of, growing up, I dealt with eating disorders, low self-esteem, questions about why I was here, my purpose, and all of that have been kind of this motif in my life. And whereas before I a lot of times sought validation in people and my relationships, whereas I thought that those people, by choosing either to be around me or not, dictated how I felt about myself. At now I am 32 years of age and I am excited about that. But I definitely feel like currently as a woman, I no longer feel the need to be validated by anybody. And I am so grateful for that because even though I have not, overcome every single insecurity or every single, negative thought as it pertains to myself, I am definitely more focused on answering those questions for myself instead of seeking out other people to tell me, what kind of woman I am or who I should be or if I'm good at that. I think for the first time, I am actually saying, okay, Alicia, let's answer these questions. You get to dictate. You're the master of your fate. And so I think that is one humongous change. I think honestly that comes as a result of unfortunately losing my father. And really there was this light bulb that came on when he was the one person in my life that I would go to for validation. And now that he's not here, I'm starting to see people a lot more clearly. And I'm also, not privy to having his opinions already. I have all of the memories, but not current opinions. So it's forcing me in a position of, self-discovery and just, I don't know, frankly, that fear factor is gone in a lot of regards. The fear factor is gone. At 32 years of age, I'm walking, around this earth as a wife and a mommy, and I'm just saying, here I am, take me or leave me, but not in that bitter sense, but just as a matter of fact, like, it's okay. If you don't like me, it's okay. If I'm not your flavor, it's okay. But even more so, not worrying about being the flavor for everybody. I think at this stage in the game, I am just so centered and focused on a very much more personal validation and even engrossing myself more deeply in a spiritual awakening for me. I always have grown up, my faith being in God, my faith is still in God. But again, after losing my father, that faith has been shaken. And so I am on this journey to reestablish that daddy-daughter relationship with him. So I think that leads right into the next question, which was, I have a blog, it's the Ladies Lounge, and I wrote very candidly about, I was mad at God. And so it seems like y'all are asking me, where am I on that journey and how am I or did I overcome? I think I am very much still on that journey. I am so happy to say that I am not operating in the fury that I had beforehand because I was mad. I was like, how could you not listen to me? I thought that you were the God who answers prayers. And that came as a result of me growing up, very devout and still devout. But I think a lot of time I listen to the words of people pertaining to what God would do in a situation versus reading his word and getting his heart and his perspective on things. And so where I'm at right now is simply just slow moving. For the first time, I was able to actually, go to church and worship. And I think I wrote about that experience. And those experiences have come closer and closer together. I'm now able to actually verbalize to God, like, look, I cannot do this. And I am overcoming, simply by waking up every day and saying, okay, God, I can't do this. I cannot take this. and you are the God who sees me, Jehovah Rapha. So I'm going to try you again, because I think my anger came as a result of disappointment. Because people were prophesying and they was laying hands and they was doing this, and I was reading scriptures, and I was standing on what I wanted to be the outcome. I think all the while God was really trying to prepare me for losing my father. I just wouldn't accept it. And so now, in the midst, because people will really try to push you to a place of healing before you're even ready, if I can say it that way. So many people, they'll give you your 5 minutes to grieve, but this is a forever thing for me. And I think one of the things that has really, really allowed me to overcome was the moment in which I heard God say, I'll wait for you. Like, I'm God. I'm big enough to handle your frustration, to handle your pain, to handle your anger, to handle all of these emotions you're going through. When I tell you, Alicia Johnson, that my grace is sufficient, I'm not talking about here's grace, now you go handle it. I'm telling you that my grace, in which I see you through my God eyes, is big enough for me to still love you and for me to still want and desire to be in a continuous relationship with you. And so if God, the one who sits high and looks low, can say, Alicia, take your time and heal, I'm here, and I'm going to walk with you through this healing process, then I'm just to the point. It goes back to question number one. I'm not so much focused on people validating. And so, I don't want to make people uncomfortable with me talking about, my grief and my pain, but I'm also not going to let people speed me up, because the worst thing we can do is speed up and try to operate in a place and we're not whole. So I think it's slow and it's not sure, but I am so grateful for the support system of my husband and my family, and being able to interact with my mom and my sisters so frequently because we live in the same city, and that really helps. And so y'all be praying for me, because come, I think, March, I'm going to be singing worship for the first time in a very long time, and that's something I didn't think that I would be able to do, and I'm nervous about it, but that process has already started in my relationship with God, of me worshiping and singing again. So He's faithful. He is. It's people who mess sometimes. It's people who mess up, our views of God a lot of times, and they don't mean harm, but again, it's all about the relationship. You got to get it with Him for yourself. Okay, so how did my husband and I meet? Okay, well, my husband is actually my best friend's brother. Plot twist. No, I never, ever, ever thought that he would be my husband, as he's our younger brother, and I was just kind of like, okay, there's Mike. We knew each other for 10 plus years as a result of us being best friends since we were in the ninth grade. And it was kind of like, I always knew he was a good person, but I was like, that's just Mike. I didn't see him as a brother. I just saw him as Mike. And so it was one day, we were over there just hanging out at my best friend's house, and he walks in, and something looked different. I don't know if it was because he had a job, or he grew up, or he had muscles, or wisdom was just radiating from his being. I don't know, but he walked in that day, and I was like, okay. And that night we had some very deep intellectual philosophical conversations where I could see he definitely had grown up and matured. And the rest is pretty much history. We talked every day since. But for those of you who are wondering, yes, I did approach my best friend, and I was like, hey, weird things happening. I think I like Mike. And it was so funny. She responded in her way. And she was like, that's my brother. I never dated him. Girl, go ahead. But y'all are going to have to get married, though. And so, of course, respecting that, I moved and we proceeded with caution. And again, the rest is history, because another thing was he had approached me before then, and I was like, mm-mm. But that's how we met. And so how do I know I was ready to be someone's wife? I think I thought I was ready, but I didn't know what wifedom was all about. And so I think that, at that age, I was around 27, and because we've only been married 4 years. And I was just tired of being single. And that's not why I got married, but I knew that I no longer wanted to play those games that I had been playing in all those negative relationships. So, years prior, about 4 years prior, I actually took a vow of celibacy. And so, I knew that I wanted to be married and I wanted to be a wife. But I also knew I needed to start the healing process from all that negative stuff I had dealt with, because I went through some crazy situations, which I know a lot of y'all can relate to. One being actually, sexual abuse. And so because of that, again, I took that vow of celibacy, and I really sought out time with God and with myself. Like, people thought I was crazy. They're like, why are you not dating? And I was like, I'm not dating. I'm not wasting my time anymore. And what I really was saying is that the next time I engage in a relationship with somebody, I want it to be for real, all games aside. And I think that I knew I was ready to be his wife just because of his character and the way he courted me and his consistency. For the first time in my life, there was a person that people always say what's understood don't have to be explained, and I think that's a lie. What's understood needs to be explained explicitly. And I think he really made his expectations very clear, and it was backed up with actions and his heart. And not to make the answer to this question any longer, but honestly, years prior, I had a dream. And I was getting married, and it was that day, and I was having, like, in this dream, I was having all this turmoil because I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to marry this person. And basically, people talked me into doing it, talked me down the aisle. After I said I do, and I was walking out of the church, there was a guy who was there and in the audience, and as soon as I saw this guy, I realized I had married the wrong person. And that guy that I saw just so happened to be my now husband. And so all those years, I was like, why would Mike be the person who let me know I married the wrong guy? Well, because he's supposed to be your husband. And so with all that being said, it was very divine. It was a divine intervention. And I knew I was ready because it seemed like he was ready. And, we loved each other. And I think one thing that is kind of unorthodox is I was able to be my ugliest self with Mike. We argued like cats and dogs, but that had been something I'd never been able to do because as a result of how I operated in previous relationships, I was oftentimes ran over, and I was oftentimes used. And for whatever reason, he was a safe place for me. So if I didn't like it, I said it. If I felt it, I felt it. And I communicated, and he communicated. And I think it was that safe place that allowed me to feel like, okay, if he can love me after seeing that part, after by hearing my emotions, after hearing my thought processes, then okay, yes. And so just finding him a place where I could be myself. Okay, number 4. How has my perspective of life changed now that I am in it? Okay, well, I think my perspective of life, career, motherhood, marriage has changed just because I thought that this was almost the end. Like, once you reached these stages of life, I thought that now you're supposed to be enjoying life. Like, oh, you went through all that, I guess hell and hot water, and now you're just gonna cruise off down the road and it's gonna be, cupcakes and, daffodils. However, I see that it is more work, and the payoff is even bigger, but it is more work. And I think that is the biggest. My perspective have changed because I know now I need to be very much more intentional. Like, Mike's not gonna know what I need him to know. He's not gonna do what I need him to do just because I feel it. Even if I cry, he's not gonna understand those tears all the time. So I need to be intentional with how I communicate. I need to be intentional with how I love. I need to be intentional with how I learn him. And I need to be willing to put in the work. And all those times I try and shut down is only gonna separate us. I think career-wise, it's just not too late. It's not too late to grow. It's not too late to learn. It's not too late to change. Just being honest, the first 4 years of our marriage have been, there have been really good highs. There have been really low lows. And I was like, there were days I was like, really? Okay. But as a result of that, it has us both searching for purpose and searching for just more meaning. So how my perspective has changed, just that it's not the fairy tale I thought it was. It's a different type of a story that's unfolding and changing daily. So, what is my advice to the millennial single who is patiently waiting to be found by Mr. Right? Um, Stop waiting just to find Mr. Right. I think that would be the thing that I would go back and tell myself. So much of my single life was consumed with being prepared for Mr. Right and where is he and where is he and where is he. And whereas that desire doesn't go away, I think it did thwart the growth that I could have obtained in my singleness. Like if I could tell a millennial single is stop looking at yourself, if you are, because some women don't, but if you're one of the ones who are looking at yourself as if you're not fully whole, or you don't have your full identity, or you're not good enough, that is a lie. That is a lie. And what I would really suggest is go on a trip, save your coins, get your credit together, just so you can enjoy your life. Do all those things that you really want to do and be so selfish. Be selfish and start doing those things and preparing yourself as an individual to be more whole and have those growth experiences. Because when you get married and when you become a mother and all those things start to get, you know, merged together as, you know, parts of your new identity, you're not gonna have time. There are so many times I want to go and just run off, you know, with my girlfriends and have that moment, but it's like, okay, my baby needs me, my husband needs me, because husbands are oftentimes, you know, baby-ish, not to no shade, but they need attention and they need a lot more nurturing than we ever get taught than they do. And so the advice that I would get is just invest in yourself. All those things that you want to do. If you want to travel, don't be the one, I want to wait till I get married so we can travel together. Go there. I want to wait. Go. You'll do it. You'll just do it again. And so, and I hope that I'm not being too frank with that, but I just really feel like there's too much of our identities that a lot of times we wrap up in being married and being whole, and that's not fair. That's not fair. There's a whole season of life that if you're in that right now, that you could be living a flavorful and full life, not just waiting on somebody to choose you, because truthfully, you have to choose them as well. And how are you going to know who's worthy of being chosen if you haven't spent that time with yourself to know what you like and what you don't like? Because it's got to be more than straight teeth and good credit and tall and a beard. You know, it's just got to be more. I'm sorry I'm being frank, but I'm just trying to be real. I think I already talked about how I met my husband. What advice do I give the wife out there who feels it's too late to follow their dreams because you have a husband and family? That's a lie too. Um, I am walking in that right now because I didn't accomplish even half of the things that I wanted to accomplish in my singleness because I spent so much time crying on Valentine's Day and every other Thursday about why nobody wanted to date me. I spent too much time feeling down on myself and hoping and praying and having girl talks over wine and cheese like we was girlfriends, wondering when our Mr. Right was going to come, that I didn't pursue a lot of those things. And while I accomplished a great deal, I'm now working on those things now. And so, you know, I'm in school again, pursuing my doctorate degree because I didn't go ahead and do it when I was single. I am still writing, trying to write. That's why I started my blog. I am still hoping to write a book. I am still hoping to propel, one day going on a speaking tour and doing all of those things. So my sister, if you're out there and you're dreaming, dream and live and do. And, it is an unhealthy balance that we have to take. There are nights I don't sleep, much. There are nights that that my husband steps in and takes care of our son. And so, I experience a little mommy guilt here and there. But one of the biggest disservices we can do is, put all of our hopes and dreams to the back burner and then hit 60 or 50 years old and feel like it's too late. Because even if you are 50 or 60, it's still not too late. Every day you wake up with breath in your body, that's a goal. That's a goal. Let's go. We can do this. We can try this. I can achieve. And I think that's the biggest thing I would say. No, baby, no sister, no queen. You are not too late. You can do it. Do it. I know it. How I'm gonna get the money? Just try. Just write it out. Start with writing it out. Get you some cheerleaders. If you have friends around you that are not cheering for you, then have them move around too. I don't know. It's not too late and you can do it. So please just take it one step at a time, one bite at a time. Prioritize, research, and then take the step. That's what I did. and so far it's serving me well. What was the transition like when you went from being someone's child to someone's parent? Like, who trusted me with a child? That's that's how I felt. I was like freaking out. Like, I'm a mommy. Can I do this? I'm still asking myself. My son will be 2 next in a couple of weeks on February the 19th, and I'm like, because every day he's changing, he's evolving, he's growing, he is, throwing a fit, laughing, kissing me, holding my hand and being amazing. And sometimes I still feel like a child. Sometimes I still want to lock myself in the room and, cry. But, we're growing and learning together. And my son is healthy, happy, and whole. And I love being his mommy. So, I'm trying to take some of that pressure off myself to be perfect and just be present. So, I think that's what the transition was like. I freaked out, I cried, and I took it day by day. On our blog, we discussed experience wife guilt. Have you ever experienced wife guilt or mommy guilt? And how do you find time for self-care? Whoa. Yes, definitely have had mommy guilt and wife guilt. The first 10 months of my son's life, I was at home with him. And when I returned to the workforce, I was blessed enough to have a job that allowed me to bring him for a season. But then, now things have changed and I've gone on to a different job and I can't do that. And so now, when he comes home and he's able to do or say or, he'll learn something that, I didn't teach him, it is a little difficult to understand. And here he comes now. And so I think that as a mommy, it's just sometimes a little bit like, making that time. Right, Mikey? Yes. And then with the daddy guilt, he's not happy. With the did you not wake up okay? With the daddy guilt or the wife guilt, it's just, it comes after you realize you've given the little bit of energy you had left to your son or to your daughter or to your children, and your wife and your husband is looking like, what about me? And so, I am going to be transparent and say, I've had the attitude a lot of times where you can just, yeah, you be all right. But we've had some candid conversations, and he was just like, hey, Alicia, I need you. I miss you. I miss my friend. And, there's a lot of other things that have happened. We've gone through financial strain and the loss of my father, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so now we're honestly in the point where we are reestablishing, some date nights. We're going on a marriage conference next week, being intentional and not prideful to say, hey, we need help. Because it's easy to lose, when you are just feeling like, okay, that commitment is there, they're not going anywhere. It's so easy to lose that connection that y'all had. And so, wife guilt and mommy guilt is real, but like with all things, you just have to be intentional, lean into it, face it, and swallow your pride, which I have a lot of, in order to, be who your husband and your family needs you to be. How do I find time for self-care? We're still working on that. We are still working on that. A lot of times it's just, oh my God, I got to take a shower by myself. Yay. Mike is really good about if I say I need some time or if I say I need to go, shopping, window shopping, because we're on a budget, for a little bit, he does his best to step in. And so, but again, that takes you being, verbal with, hey, I'm not doing well. I need to. And I think a lot of times we struggle as women with, verbalizing our needs. We a lot of times want somebody just to see that we need and respond instead of, just initiating the understanding of that. What do you think is the most common misconception about millennials, and do you find it to be true? I think a lot of times people feel we're flighty. I think that sometimes they feel that we are not good with establishing relationships and making connections, and I don't think that's true. I think that, it's easy for us to ignore the need for human interaction sometimes, but I feel like we also have that innate desire to be around human beings and to, we're all looking for our purpose. We're all looking for our tribe. We're all looking for, where we belong. And I think that we're just a group of people who, we won't stay somewhere for a long time, but it's not where we belong. I think that that can be a threat to a healthy marriage because it'll make you want to flee in the midst of a tumultuous time. And so, we have to be cognizant of that. But ultimately, I love being, a millennial. I think we're creative. I think we're innovative. And I think we don't settle, honestly. And finally, one thing that I love about myself. I think one thing that I really love about myself is how I can inspire other excitement in other people. Um, I don't know. I think it's a thing that like I love that about me. I love what happens when I'm around other people and I'm intentional about trying to uplift or encourage or exhort them. And I just love that. I love I love being able to, be a blessing to somebody else or to see somebody and they're sad and to just go, hey girl, you look cute, and being willing to encourage and uplift a sister. So I love that, as a result of everything I've gone through, it has made me be a lot more intentional with how I love on others. And so, yeah, I love that about myself. I love my weird, awkward, mannerisms. I love my humor. Today, I love my hair. And I don't know. That's a good question. But I love all of those things. And I thank y'all for asking me that question because I hadn't thought about it. I love this little part of me. He's the best of me. Can you say hi? What is that? Ew. I don't know what that is. But anyway, can you say bye, Mikey? No.
Bye.
Bye. Thank y'all for letting me do this. See you later. Can you blow a kiss?